Welcome, everyone, and thank you for your interest in UNC's Distance Masters in Dietetics with the Dietetic Internship. Our agenda today consists of a program overview, information about the application, and a chance for you all to ask your questions. To begin, we will introduce ourselves. So I'm Brianna. I'm the program coordinator for the DI and the MSDI. That includes coordination of the application review team, and I am also one of the individuals who reviews your application. So I'd love to be able to meet you today. And I'm also involved in preceptor training, and I'm the point of contact for current interns, future interns, and also our graduates. I'll allow Director Michelle to take the floor now.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle, and I am the internship director for the MSDI program and also the standalone DI. But tonight we'll be focusing on the MSDI program, and we have some exciting news to share tonight with more opportunities that we will have for the MSDI students upcoming this fall. So we'll share that. I have been at UNC for 16 years going on this. I've worked mostly with undergrad and I have worked in the dietetic internship position previously. And so I'm happy to help you guys get through the application process and answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It's great to have you here. Okay, so today's information will be focusing on our MSDI program, which is that Master's in Dietetics with the Dietetic Internship. If anyone viewing this is interested in our DI standalone, which is the DI without the Master's, we hosted an open house specific to that program. You can email us at dietetic.internship@unco.edu, and I'll place that in the chat as well. So that you have it handy. You can request the recording by emailing us there. The application process is different, so please make a note of that. And on a similar note, we do also have an online MS in dietetics that doesn't include the DI. So if that's something you're interested in, you can also find that info online and email us with questions. We will not have an open house for that program. So the MSDI things to know are, first off, we'll have an online orientation in August. This is a chance for you to meet one another and to meet the individuals at UNC who are here to support you. That includes myself, it includes the librarian who will support your research, it includes the graduate coordinator, etc. And then the first portion of the program consists of entirely online classes that are asynchronous. Asynchronous means that there are no regularly scheduled class times that you are expected to log on for. Coursework is more or less done on your schedule, but abiding by the due dates provided by the professor for projects and whatnot. So it is still expected that you log in and complete the work as it's due rather than leaving it all to the end of the semester. And then some professors may have virtual student hours or office hours in which they encourage you to log on and ask questions. There may also be group projects or presentations at specific times, but all of this is done online. Some course examples include metabolism, nutrition assessment, counseling, public health and research. We also offer electives in sports nutrition, maternal and child health, and you can also take electives outside of the nutrition program as long as they are approved. And then in that final year of the program is when the distance dietetic internship, or sometimes referred to as supervised practice, we will use the term distance to describe this portion, and I will explain in more detail about the dietetic internship in a little bit here. For the internship, you are the one creating your schedule. And with that said, we do not leave you alone in this process. It's collaborative. So we created an entire curriculum teaching you about the requirements of the internship portion and grooming you to be a quality candidate when you're reaching out to preceptors. Since they don't have to host you, they will if they can, but if they feel you might be an asset to the team, they may be more likely to accept you as an intern. So this is one perk of the MSDI that we offer. To put that into perspective, anyone applying to the distance DI, which is that DI without the master's, they will be expected to complete this process before they even apply to our program. So they are more on their own in that regard, whereas we offer that, that really one-on-one support as an MSDI student. And then once your coursework, your capstone or comprehensive exam, and your supervised practice hours are complete, that is when you will receive your degree. You'll be eligible to sit for the RDN exam, and you can choose to travel to Colorado for the graduation if you so choose. Now, an important topic for probably many of you is that of tuition and expenses. So at UNC, we pride ourselves with being able to offer a quality education to all students, not just our Colorado students, at a lower cost per credit hour when compared to other institutions in Colorado. Additionally, if you are not already living here, you are not expected to relocate. It's not an on-campus program, so that's one expense that's eliminated. And also, if you choose the part-time track, which I'll explain in detail, that is designed to allow time to continue working. Even students who complete the program in its full-time track often successfully maintain employment, but if you choose part-time, that it gives you even more of an opportunity to do so. On top of that, UNC has opportunities for financial aid and scholarships. We also help you apply for scholarships through the A&D if you choose to. We also offer something called the graduate assistantship. So this is a spot that you can apply for. It's a working position. You'll work fewer than 20 hours per week for the department. This is either in person on campus or remotely or a combo. We have had both. With the GA position, you receive tuition reimbursement, thus decreasing or even eliminating the need to take out student loans. And you also get a stipend, and that is meant to be used to support yourself financially outside of paying for tuition. We also have been able to offer scholarships to students to attend FNCE. That is that huge nutrition conference that's held each year. It's a great opportunity for you to increase your knowledge of nutrition topics, to network for future jobs or internship rotation spots, or present your research. And then, of course, probably why you're all here today, while you're all going to school, is to eventually be employed. So we provide education on cover letter and resume writing, interview skills, and we will send you job listings that are shared with us even before they're posted elsewhere. The data that we have indicates that for the past several years, 100% of graduates who sought employment were successful in that search. In addition, the whole process of putting together your own rotation schedule is designed to prepare you for the workforce. So you'll eventually be forced to put yourself out there, to sell yourself, to interview, to create resumes. And our students have found that they are in better positions for that than in programs where maybe the schedule was made for them and they didn't need to practice that professional communication along the way. Now, some information about the dietetic internship portion. As mentioned earlier, we have the DI standalone, which is just the DI. We also have the MSDI, which is why you all are here today. The final year of the MSDI looks almost identical to the DI when it comes to the supervised practice portion. So we wanted to share that info with you today. Our university was established in 1889, and then our DI came along in 1995, and it was actually the first DI to use the distance model. So we're proud to say we've been almost 30 years of successful distance DI. Now there are many others popping up across the country, but we're pretty proud of the fact that we were the first. So, of course, as mentioned, the program is distance, so you can complete your online classes anywhere and are not expected to relocate to attend class. And then for the supervised practice or DI portion, we use the term distance, meaning that our meetings, our office hours, those are all held virtually, such as through a platform such as Zoom, as we're on today. But your rotations must be done in person. Those can be done, though, anywhere in the country. So you are still not expected to relocate with the exception of possibly a short-term relocation, maybe for a rotation, just depending on what's in your area. We work incredibly hard to help keep you home or wherever you want to be. But with that said, we can't pull rotations out of thin air. And if you are in a rural area, you may find yourself commuting to a nearby city, or you may be smack dab in the middle of a city, but there are other programs in the area that have monopolized the hospitals or the food assistance programs, thus leaving us with limited options. That's why sometimes interns have to relocate temporarily. This is not necessarily the norm, though. To give you kind of an idea of how common it is, this current year, we have 12 interns who are rotating. One of them came to Colorado from California. She stayed with family here in Colorado for her clinical rotation because we were unable to secure a hospital in her area that had room to host her. And then just one other intern relocated temporarily, not because we couldn't find her rotations, but because she had her heart set on rotating at this specific facility that was out of state. So she chose to make that move for a month, rent an Airbnb in order to complete that specific rotation. And that's another beauty of this program, is that we have guidelines that we're expected to follow. However, you can do with that what you will, and you can make it your own. And that's one perk of a distance program. We've also had interns who specifically chose to go to a different part of the country for every rotation just because they could. So last year we had an intern start her first rotation was in Portland. She traveled across the country and finished her last rotation in New York City just because she had the ability to, and that is what she wanted to do. The internship consists of 4 main rotations, which we will educate you in detail on when the time comes. We give you the option to complete the internship portion full-time or part-time. I'll mention that some programs, they have a set number of full-time and part-time. So they may say, okay, well, we've accepted, our max full-time, everyone else after here is part-time, or vice versa. We do not function that way. Everyone can choose full-time or everyone can choose part-time. It's up to your schedule. It's up to what your preceptors can accommodate. And we will work with you to determine the most appropriate course for you as well. Some preceptors, they only work part-time. So even if you're a full-time intern, you may find that a rotation you're rotating part-time just because that's what your preceptors can accommodate. Again, this is all part of the education that we'll provide you, nothing that you need to take action on today. So part of the DI education, of course, is prep for that RDN exam. We are so proud to report that in this past year, 100% of our first-time test takers passed, which is well above the national average, which unfortunately has been declining. So we're really grateful that our program has provided the education that our interns have needed and that our interns have put in the work. And we're so proud of them because it is a challenging exam, and we do our best to support you from day one in being successful in that. And then the last thing I'll mention here is that we, just as of this past year, began participating in assessment of prior learning. This is a system that allows interns to put past work or volunteer experience toward internship hours. It was well received this past year, so we do intend to continue it. APL is an application process. We will educate you on how to do this once you are in the program. It is nothing that you should be starting now. As with everything, we take data, we reevaluate things year to year. There may be slight changes to that application, and it is just too early for you to do that at this time. You will get specific guidance on when to go about doing that. But to give you a brief overview of what to expect, this is designed for students who have worked in a community nutrition or a food service job or a volunteer position for 500 hours or more in that one position. You must be able to demonstrate competence in multiple areas and then provide evidence of this in the form of written responses, project submissions, and information from your supervisor. Again, we will educate you on how to complete this. If you are extremely curious and you'd like to learn more today, that info is all on our website, and you can visit that website, which I'll post in the chat here a little bit later. Okay, so we are really excited, as Director Michelle mentioned, to share that we are in the process of making a program change to offer two separate tracks within the MSDI to reduce the number of credits required for this program and allow an accelerated option. So this has been in the works. It is close to being official, but it has a few more checks to go through before we can formally update our website. But we wanted to share it with you today so that you can start thinking about which program track might work best in your situation. We do not require you to designate which program track, either 2-year or 3-year, you intend to pursue at the time you apply. Excuse me. But we do ask you to designate which you might prefer. This is by no means a final decision. It's just so that we can get an idea of what our students are wanting. Then we will have a conversation and solidify which will work best for you to get you in the correct classes before you begin the program. We're moving toward this option because we want to allow for a faster pathway to become an RDN and at a lower expense. So with that said, it is still our duty to ensure that you receive a quality education and are prepared for your career, and we are prepared to support you in that. So let's chat a little bit about what to expect with this. So to compare the programs, both the 2-year or the 3-year option will have 41 credit hours, which are 13 fewer than we have traditionally required. Regardless of which program track you choose, you can still choose to complete the supervised practice or that DI part-time or full-time. We will advise you accordingly as we get to know you and explain what the difference is between those two options. When you choose either the 2-year or the 3-year, you'll have to stick to that. But if you decided to do the DI part-time, you would just extend into one more semester, which I'll give you a brief overview here, and we will educate you in detail when the time comes. If you would like to finish as quickly as possible and you are prepared for a rigorous program, the 2-year option is for you. This first fall and spring semesters are your online coursework, during which you'll be establishing your internship rotations for the following year. And then come June, so right after your spring semester, you start your internship. You have about a month in between spring semester and internship. And we do expect that you'll be available to communicate during that time so that we can make sure you're good to go for the internship, but you won't be expected to take classes or meet with us during that time unless we need to meet related to the dietetic internship portion. Should you choose the 3-year option, you can still complete the program really in under 3 years. And I'll show you kind of like a calendar view here in the next slide. But with this option, you have more flexibility in the sense that you are not a full-time student during the first 2 years. You're a part-time student. And then you also do not have to take any courses during the dietetic internship year. Also, with the 3-year option, you have the opportunity to complete the capstone. So if you are at all interested in research, the 3-year option might be best for you. The capstone, it's similar to a thesis or a dissertation, but a smaller scale. It is a large research project that takes a few semesters to get done, which is why it is not going to be offered for the 2-year students. However, if you choose that 3-year option and you are not interested in research, you are also welcome to take the comprehensive exam instead of the capstone. And that is the same comprehensive exam that those 2-year students will be taking. So just to kind of give you an idea of what we have traditionally offered, our program as it currently stands is 3 years. It's really under 3 years, but it's just under 3 years. But regardless, it's 3 years full-time. So full-time school for 2 years, full-time internship for 1. The intention of this all was to decrease, as I mentioned, the load of credit hours, decrease the cost, and also to give you an opportunity to expedite graduation if that's what you're looking for. Now, to provide a visual, here is a layout of how we intend to lay out the program. So I have the 2-year program here on the screen. You jump right in with classes and DI prep in August. You'll be a full-time student. You'll be expected to dedicate time to school as well as reaching out to preceptors and creating your rotation schedule with our guidance. But that is additional work for you during that semester. Then in the following June, so just the next June, you begin the DI, so that first summer. During that summer, you will just be doing the DI, so that's just the rotations and the work involved with the DI. And then come fall, you will re-enroll in a couple of courses, again, in addition to doing those DI rotations. The rotations themselves also have some work involved outside of rotation hours. So that's just something to keep in mind. And I mention this just so that you're prepared if you choose this 2-year option. Similar to how many other programs are laid out, if they're expedited, it is expected that you'll dedicate much of your time to your education in order to get the most out of the experience, in order to complete the courses with appropriate grades, and in order to get appropriate scores for the internship. And then you'll also have to take a comprehensive exam at the end. So that is designed to prepare you for the RDN exam. That will also require effort in the form of studying, which will then, of course, translate into your RDN exam studying. And then you can graduate in the spring. If you would like, you can opt to complete your supervised practice part-time, in which case you would then finish your rotations that following summer. And then you'd finish those by July. So you'd still be done in just under 2 years, even if you needed to spill over into the summer there. Now, if you choose the 3-year option, the requirements, in a sense, are the same. They're just laid out a little bit different. So the first fall and spring are just coursework, and then no courses in the summer. Then the second year, courses in DI prep, but you have fewer courses. So like if you see the 2-year, you had 3 courses plus DI prep. The 3-year, you only have 2 courses plus DI prep. So it's a little bit less intense. And then in the spring, you'll either take 3 courses or you will take 2 courses and complete the capstone. Again, these are all things that we will advise you on and educate you on thoroughly. I just thought you might want to see a visual while you are here. And then the 3rd year is just DI. So you're doing those rotations, you're doing the work involved in the rotations, which you may consider to be homework, but it's not like graded homework that goes toward a GPA as your graduate coursework would. And then, as I mentioned, you can either complete the capstone or the comprehensive exam. We'll ask you to choose which you're thinking at the beginning so that we can advise you accordingly. Same thing here. If you want to, you can finish in the spring if you would like, or you can finish in the summer. Those are all components that we will work with you on and help you determine which is most appropriate. As I mentioned, you do not have to choose a track before you apply, but once accepted, we'll ask you to choose a track and then stick with that. Since you'll be contacting preceptors and creating a schedule, you will be expected to commit to them. Of course, we will work with you if you're overwhelmed. We'll help you. We'll work together to make this a positive experience for you and make sure you get what you deserve out of your education. All right. So now that we're just so excited to apply, how do we apply? So let's chat about that a little bit here. So starting with the basic admission requirements are an undergraduate degree, as well as your DPD coursework. This must be done by August before you begin the program. You cannot be doing your DPD courses alongside the program. So just keep that in mind if you're not quite done with your DPD. The UNC grad school does have a GPA requirement of a 3.0. If you're not sure at this time what your GPA will be, depending on fall and spring semester, you're still welcome to apply. But generally, if applicants have consistently had below a 3.0 semester to semester, they will not be eligible for admission through the graduate school, and that is why we have this requirement. There are several other admission requirements, and I'm going to post the website in the chat for you, which we'll go over here momentarily. I would recommend that you read through this website before you apply. Depending on how you have searched for our website through various search engines, if you've Googled UNC MSDI, it may bring you to different pages depending on where you start. So I would recommend grabbing this link, hanging on to it. This link is also the link that's in the DICAS application, and this will take you right to what is most pertinent to you.
I apologize, Brianna. I kind of zoned out there for a minute. The DPD, for all of you, just for clarification, that is the verification statement. So we would require a verification statement from the DPD. And if you already said that, Brianna, I'm sorry.
I did not say that, Director Michelle, so thank you for jumping in there. Yes, thank you. Okay. And then as far as the DICAS application, here are the application requirements. These are all listed in DICAS as well as on our website. And then this is what our program looks like in DICAS. I'm actually going to open up both of these to show you. So starting with our website, let me know if you're not able to see the website. It looks like you should be, but let me know if you don't. So this is the link I posted in the chat. You're welcome to open it up and follow along with me, or just continue to watch the screen. This is the homepage here. As I mentioned, the program is as it has been traditionally listed here. Once we get final approval for that change, that is when we will have permission to update the website. I mentioned APL. The information is here. If you would like to learn more, again, do not start this application now. It is too early to start it. We will tell you once you're in the program when it is time to begin this. So we're going to spend most of our time right here in the application requirement and process tab. So a couple of things to note. The first thing here, there is reference to this early admission. If you are watching this and you are a UNC student or graduate, you more than likely are eligible for early admission, in which case you should have access to those application instructions. If you are not a UNC student or alumni, you are general admission. If you are a UNC student, you can also apply through general admission, which I'm about to go through here. A couple of things on this page that I want to mention. You can request more information by clicking this button. You can also do so by emailing the email I sent, which I just noticed there is a spelling error. I'm so sorry. So I'm going to correct that. UNCO, not OC. There we go. That's the email. Sorry. Please ignore these buttons, these apply now buttons. Those are the buttons that are on every UNC page. They don't directly apply to us because we use DICAS. So does every dietetic internship. So please ignore those and please just read the information that is listed here. The very first thing references the online application. That is DICAS. So if you click this link, it will pull up DICAS. If you're not familiar with DICAS, please familiarize yourself with that. That is how we will expect your application to come through. And that is what all programs at this point should be using.
And it is open and available to all of you now. So you can get in there at any point.
Yes.
Start application materials for any program you might be applying to.
Yes. That our MSDI application became available November 1st. Prior to November 1st, it was just the DI standalone that was in there. So if you were checking before November 1st and you were confused as to where our MSDI was, it's because it hadn't opened yet. So they are both there now. Okay, so here we list the application requirements. A couple of things that I'll mention. DICAS itself, it has a fee to use the program. You must pay this fee if you intend to apply to us or any program, and that money stays right there in DICAS. We, as a UNC program, have an additional application fee. That link is down here. Most programs have an application fee that is separate from DICAS. That fee goes toward the time spent reviewing your application on our end. So just keep that in mind. That is in addition to the DICAS fee. As Director Michelle mentioned, we require a verification statement stating that you completed your didactic program or DPD. We also require a personal statement, as do probably all programs. It is a great practice to create a different personal statement for each program and not send the same one to every program. We will, of course, notice if you have done that, because you will not have answered the questions that we request that you answer. So please read these. They're in DICAS as well. So hopefully you don't find yourself submitting a personal statement that is lacking the answers to these questions. We require 3 letters of recommendation. You're able to upload or to request 4 if you would like, but please make sure they're coming from the appropriate sources. And then we often host virtual interviews using Zoom or a video chat program. Please make sure that you have a computer or something with a webcam and a microphone for your interview, as well as for the duration of the program. Since we are a distance program, that is how we communicate, that is how we meet. And so one requirement that may be different from a traditional program is that you must have a computer with reliable internet and a private place to participate in learning. And then, as I mentioned, the application fee is here, and that is just about it that's relevant to you. Now I'm going to pull over what the DICAS application looks like so that we can take a look at that together. Once you create an account, it should look something like this. And so I encourage you to toggle through and play around with become familiar with DICAS, because you'll be spending some time in here. In order to find our program, you can type in the name of our university. As I mentioned, we have a Dietetic Internship standalone. If you are applying to the DI standalone, please make sure you apply to the correct program. If you're applying to the MSDI, make sure you're clicking MSDI. The 2-year versus the 3-year track are all in the same application. As I mentioned, you are not expected to choose which track at this time, but you must choose which program you are applying to. So you can click the plus button to add it or to add it to your system. So I'll show you that process again if you're unfamiliar. And then once it gets added, you can toggle through and check out what is required, what is already done in your application. I'm slacking, I've done nothing in my application. But if you're unfamiliar, take some time to go through, make sure your personal information is all complete and correct. A couple of things that I will point out. If you go to the program materials, this is our website. So this is the same website I posted in the chat for you. We have some questions that we request for you to answer here. And then as far as documents go, the only thing that you're required to submit is that personal statement. You shouldn't be submitting anything else in here, just the personal statement. And then recommendations. You can choose up to 4, but we do require 3. Make sure that you're telling your letter writers that they are getting a notification before they get the notification. Send them your resume, send them any information that they might need. That's the best practice to get into. Okay. As I mentioned, we have a fee for the MSDI application, which is using that link that I showed you on the website. And we thought it might be helpful for you to know what we expect to see in you all as applicants. So here are a few just to name a few. We will be assessing your personal statement for whether or not you answered the questions that we've requested, but also for clarity, consistency, and professionalism. We want to see that come through your writing. So please have someone proofread, ideally someone at the writing center at your school or a professor or someone working in the dietetics field. Strong writing skills will be important if you complete the capstone because it's a large amount of writing. If you don't complete the capstone, then you won't have that opportunity to further develop your writing skills. Therefore, we do hope that they are strong to begin with. So that's why we look for strong writing skills. We always love seeing applicants who have experience in the field, especially clinical, because a lot of interns don't feel comfortable in hospitals or long-term care settings because they just genuinely have never spent a lot of time there. So whether you were a diet aide or worked in the kitchen at a hospital or volunteered in a hospital, even unrelated to nutrition, but you spent time in a hospital, that's great for us to see because we know that we can send you out into the hospital in your community and that you will be comfortable. So that's huge for us. But if you don't have clinical experience, now's the time to get some before you apply. But even still, if you have food service experience or any type of community experience, that's wonderful as well. Also leadership. So even if it's leadership not in the field of dietetics, but you were a manager or supervisor or leader of volunteering of the PTA at your children's school, that is all leadership. And we want to see leaders. Part of our mission is to produce leaders. So show us that you already are a leader and that you just need to expand on those skills. If you had a leading role in any type of club, team, or job, please note that on your resume and in your personal statement. We also expect professionalism. So when you're communicating with us or with your peers or with your preceptors, professionalism is always expected. If you reach out to us, we will be looking for a formal address. So if it's someone who has a doctorate, they should be addressed as such. And if not, if you know their pronouns, they can be addressed as Ms. or Mr. Also, emails, they shouldn't begin with hey. You shouldn't you should address hello or dear, something professional, because we want you to go out into your rotation sites and not only represent UNC, more importantly, represent yourself. The field is small. Your preceptors will very likely be your future employers and or colleagues. So let's start professionalism now and move forward with that in mind. We also feel it's important to emphasize that we look at you as a whole applicant. You know, you are not just a number. You're not just a GPA, right? If you're scored poorly in some classes, well, we'll see that on your transcript. You can't hide that. But what you can do is show us that those scores are not indicative of who you are as an applicant and who you will be as a student and a future dietitian. So show us your writing skills. In the interview, show us how you will succeed in a rigorous program. Okay, so if you are interested in applying, we highly encourage you to review the application material in DICAS to become familiar with what's expected before the due date, as well as the information on our website, not only to understand what is involved in the application, but to understand what this program offers and what it requires. We don't want you to apply if you're not sure that you think you're going to be a good fit here, right? We want you to have a good educational experience just as much as you do. And if you don't familiarize yourself with the programs that you're applying to, that can be problematic once you're in the program. If you haven't already made a DICAS account, please do so. Now is also a fine time to start thinking about or even contacting professors, employers, asking them if they would consider being a letter writer for you in DICAS.
And if
And
you're,
that
and if one of your references happens to be a professor, just kind of keep the timeline of the academic year in the back of your head, as well as I know we have finals week literally like in 3 weeks is freaking me out a little bit because I teach as well. But just to get all that done, and then you're on semester break, and then you come back in mid-January, it's pretty short turnaround. If you're waiting till next semester to contact them, they'll only have a couple weeks to turn those recommendations around. So definitely reach out sooner than later, as Brianna had said.
Thank you for that input. That is a great point. Okay, so the last thing that you can do is reach out to us via the email that I sent in the chat. You can also reach out directly to Anna Taylor, which I'll send in the chat. She is our admissions coach. So she is there to help guide you through the process as well. So please use her. Both she and I have access to that dietetic.internship email. So she and I will both be answering those. But if you'd like to reach her directly, you're welcome to send her a message. So before we open it up to questions, I am sharing, we have a Facebook page that I just sent in the chat. These QR codes are for our Instagram and our TikTok pages. We would love for you to follow us, mostly because we post updates and reminders in terms of the program and the application. We also post application tips. So these are great reminders that are relevant, not just to our program, but to all programs. We also post videos introducing you to our students, our interns, and our graduates, as well as us, our faculty. So go take a peek at how fun we can be. We've got some fun stuff going on. I do like to say we do not view the pages who follow us. This is not a trap. We will not be checking out your social media. But with that said, we always recommend being mindful of what you're posting on social media as a general practice. Professionalism is great in all aspects of your life. Okay. And I think I've sent all the links in the chat that I needed to. I am going to stop sharing my screen and open up for questions. So you are welcome to type questions into the chat, or you may unmute yourself and introduce yourself if you don't mind and ask your question.
I'll go ahead and go. So I was wondering, oh, by the way, I'm Ashley Leonard. I am actually from California. I'm coming from Chico State University. So I did receive my undergraduate degree in dietetics and nutrition communication, and I have completed the DPD program. I am looking for a distance program because I am now in the Bay Area, and I do currently have jobs that I could possibly use as rotations already. And so I am wondering how competitive this program is, along with the interview process. Is this going to be online or in person?
Great question, Ashley. The interviews are all held virtually. We do not expect you to travel to Colorado for interviews. We recognize that puts a lot of strain on you financially and time-wise. So we don't expect that. In terms of competitiveness, the past few years have been not representative of what they once were across the board from what we are hearing from other programs as well. The market is favoring applicants, whereas it once was favoring programs. So it's difficult to speak to that, considering that the last year or two have been quite substantially different from years prior, from every program that I know of.
I would add to that. We have not filled to our capacity, but at the same time, we have not accepted every application that comes in the door. So you still have to meet our standards. And so we will turn students away, even if we're not at capacity for our program. But the last 2 years, we've had room for those students that are qualified.
Okay. And then the master's program is 12 spots, I thought you said. Is that correct?
No, we have 12 interns currently rotating.
Okay.
but we have 30 slots.
For the combined program, correct?
Correct.
Okay, 30 slots.
And I will say, Ashley, in terms of competitiveness, it is quite competitive in the sense of finding rotations in California because there are so many programs there already.
Okay.
So that's just something to keep in mind. We almost every year have a few interns in California. And I think, like I mentioned, the intern that we currently have in California, she did relocate temporarily for one of her rotations.
The clinical sites, I would say, are the most difficult. So if you happen to have connections already within a clinical site, you'd be far ahead of the
Yeah, I currently work at a hospital called San Ramon Regional Medical Center. And so I'm a dietetic assistant already there and do consultations with patients already. And so I think that, and I know of several other students who have done their clinical rotations there. So I think it would be a huge option for me to be able to do clinical there. But of course, I have to talk to my clinical director and talk to her about it. I had a few other questions for the 2-year and the 3-year program. For the 3-year, it was called the capstone. You said that was a thesis paper or a research project. Is there any kind of standards that you can maybe briefly summarize that are required for the research project?
So it is a research project. It's not a thesis. It's just comparable to a thesis. That's just the most the closely related term that most people are more familiar with. Let me see if I think that is all listed on our website. Yeah, so it's on our website and I can send in the chat the actual link that brings you to the capstone page. And it's really like a large literature review. A lot of interns will do some sort of survey to assess, to perform a needs assessment, and then they'll evaluate the results and then present it virtually, as well as virtually as in a presentation, and then a paper as well.
Okay.
You'll be matched up with a faculty member in that regard in areas of interest and what they're currently researching to as at the same time.
Okay. And then with the 2-year, you said it was only the comprehensive exam, right? Okay.
Correct. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
We had a question come through in the chat. Michelle, would you mind taking that one?
Oh, let me go to the chat and see what it is.
I can read it for you.
Okay.
Good evening. Could you please confirm that there are any expirations for prerequisite courses, i.e. medical nutrition therapy?
Typically, so in our undergrad DPD, we do not accept nutrition courses, especially the clinical that's over 10 years old. So if you've taken DPD required courses and they're greater than 10 years old, that would probably be a disadvantage to you in applying to our program. But there's always the opportunity to update that coursework as well.
Thank you, Michelle. Who else has questions?
I do have questions. Hi, I'm Gail. I live actually in Broomfield, Colorado, but
Nice.
I'm a student at university. Sure. University of Arizona. Sorry, online.
Okay.
So my question is: you write that you have 41 courses, credits. And in your website, it's written 55. So is that one of the change of the program?
Yes, that is what will be changed.
Okay. Second question is, I had an issue with schedule, and I'm supposed to graduate after summer. So is it too late or it's okay?
You have to be finished before you begin the program in August.
Yeah, it's the first semester of summer, so I should be done.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then that should be fine.
And third question, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still, so because I'm in Colorado, actually, I live here. So are you helping us as well from programs here? Do you have students?
Absolutely. Many, I'd say, we always have a handful of Colorado students each year, and we have numerous sites in Colorado just because that's where our students tend to be more often. So yes, you should be well set for rotation sites. We still provide you the same guidance, assistance, and education along the way. So not to worry there. It's just that we have interns all across the country. Last year we had interns from Alaska to Florida. So, but we always have some in Colorado, and we have numerous preceptors in Colorado who are always asking for more interns.
Okay, and my last question is, I am not working, but I'm doing some volunteer hours. For your recommendation, you're asking for some professional. So is the responsible of the volunteering okay, or you want an employer?
If you don't have a recent employer, you can use the supervisor for your volunteer position in place of the supervisor for the job that we request.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for your questions. Ashley, I see you have your hand raised again, and then Alexis.
Sorry, one more question. She brought up a question that I forgot to ask. So going back to the reference letters, are you requiring them to be from any specific person, like one professional, one academic, one personal?
Yes, those are all on the website, and they should be in diecast too.
They were
Okay.
when you popped it up, I looked, they are there too.
Perfect.
Okay, great.
That's the recommendations come from.
And then for the personal statement, this is probably online, so sorry if I'm bothering you, but for the personal statement, does it require a certain amount of pages or words?
1,000 words is what it's limited to.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Alexis, did you have a question?
Well, I was just going to say, I have a variety of questions given my personal circumstances, which don't yet line up with the MSDI program because I still have to go through the DPD portion. So I'm going to reach out to you guys, I guess, through the dietetic.internship email, probably tomorrow with I already have an MBA. So it's kind of like trying to plan out my path, having that master's and doing, making sure that I'm competitive and all that. It's like hard to tell where I'm going to line up. I would, if I'm going to do a master's, just do the DPD, I want to be able to get jobs. So I'll reach out as really, rather than boring all you all with my situation.
We'll look forward to your email.
Great. Thank you.
And I will just mention, Alexis, and maybe for whomever else is watching this who does already have a master's, you are eligible then to apply for our DI standalone if you choose, unless you wanted the dietetics master's as well. But you could always do the DI, become a dietitian, and then come back to do your dietetics master's later. So that's just something to consider. Once your DPD is done, both of those will be options for you.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started to get nervous that I wouldn't be competitive if I had a master's, but not the MS. And then maybe I would have trouble getting into the DIs without and it was like, just kind of going through my own neurotic circle of questions. So.
No, we have multiple students with a variety of backgrounds, and diversity within education is highly encouraged. And if your DPD is very current, as yours will be, this is basically the first year, 2024, that a master's was even required. So there aren't a lot of students out there with, a master's regardless that are applying, so you're actually kind of ahead of the game because you already have that master's. So don't worry, I wouldn't fret about it.
Great, because just sorting through, because knowing that it's the big change, like all of the wording from all the different schools is slightly different, and it's like, oh my goodness, which and even from the Eat Right, I'm like an expert, it feels like, on that site, but yeah, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
We recognize that it is challenging to navigate, to say the least. And so we do our best to give you as much support as we can, recognizing that all programs, although we follow the same general guidelines, we kind of do our own thing, a lot of us. I mean, not our own thing, but there are so many different pathways that it makes it challenging for you all. So hopefully this helped solidify some of that for you.
Yes. I do feel like I'm getting another degree in learning the requirements for my next degrees, but so appreciate it. And it's an industry in transition, so I know that adds some layers of complication to things. So appreciate it. Thank you. I'll reach out.
Great. Thank you.
My name is Andy Salazar. I'm currently a UNC Bear. This is my 4th year and I'm planning to graduate this semester actually.
Yay.
I just had a question about the internship portion. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Was it possible to do a part-time and full-time internship? And if so, do you happen to know how much, like over the space of what time, how much hours you would have to dedicate per month or per week to like meet that 1-year requirement?
Sure, I'll field that one. So our part-time and full-time is not necessarily a set number of hours per week because it will flex. It's really a time frame. So we find that our full-time students are usually done within 8 to 10 months. For the most time, if they're going full-time, it also depends on what the preceptors are doing over the holidays and things like that. But for part-time, we allow up to 14 months to complete the program. So saying, depending on which MSDI program, you take the 2-year track or the 3-year track, and you get into that part-time internship, you will have approximately 8 months to 14 months, depending on if you are going part-time or full-time.
And how much hours was the internship in total? Was it around 1,000?
Yes, it's a minimum of 1,000. And to be honest, we always encourage some students, if you have the opportunity in certain rotations, to spend an extra day here or to attend a health fair there, to kind of get a few extra hours to pad in case on the backside, a hurricane hits Florida and your hospital is not functional, things like that happen. So you have to, 1,000 minimum is what we usually.
And I believe I have one more question. I saw when you Miss Brianna pulled out the blue sorry, I can't really see it. The blue little graph of like the internship portions. I see under like fall of the 2nd year, it seems like it says DI plus 2 courses. Is that like a random set of 2 courses that you would need to finish, or is it more like prep work?
It's 2 graduate courses. So are you looking at the, I apologize, are you looking at the 2-year program?
Yes.
Yeah, so the 2-year program, you would actually be doing internship hours and taking graduate coursework at the same time.
Oh, okay.
So it would be 2 graduate level courses plus internship hours.
Oh, okay, then yeah, thank you. Like my question was more like is it a specific set of courses, like you'll take these specific courses at this time, or?
Yes. Yeah, Andy, we do have it outlined in an order that is meant to best prepare you and also not overwhelm you from semester to semester. And there are certain courses that have to be taken before other courses. So that is all outlined for you. And we give you that outline depending on which option you choose. Yeah.
Thank you too for answering my questions.
Yeah.
You're very welcome. Thanks for asking. Does anyone else have questions? We understand that it is 6, so for those of you who need to log off, that's completely fine, but we are also here if you need additional time.
Just thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And if you have questions or if your questions didn't get answered, please send us an email as always, so that we can address your specific questions.
Yeah, I'll definitely be doing that on my side. So you'll see that tomorrow. Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone, for your attendance today. Brianna, thank you so much for putting on the presentation and going through the outline of our program. And if you guys have any questions, just like Alex is going to do, go ahead and shoot us an email and we'll try to get those responded to you. Again, kind of think of the time frame where we're at. So next week we're off half the week and then we're on to finals week. So just kind of when you're looking at timing of responses, but we'll get to them.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
You as well.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much.